tú, te digo yo, sabes tú, yo lo sé, yo ma la 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 la, sabes tú, te digo yo, ma la 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 la, sabes la 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 la.
Of 1871, just on the other side of that bridge began Lake Michigan. So everything east of here is built on a landfill from debris from the Great Fire. Now we're on the main branch of the Chicago River. There are 3 branches of the river. Today we're going to be doing all 3 branches. The main branch, the north branch to Goose Island, and then we'll come back to the main branch, head on to the south branch all the way to Chinatown, and then we'll come back to the main branch and head out east to the turning basin where Lake Michigan meets up with the Chicago River. People often ask me, how deep is the Chicago River? Any guesses? Just take a wild guess. 15, no? 20? Very close. Sorry, 22 feet deep, not deep at all. Oh, you're fine. You got one for me too? All right, folks. This building here on our right is the next building I want to talk about. You probably don't know the name of it, so I'm going to tell you. This is Trump International Hotel and Tower. It is the 2nd tallest building here in the city of Chicago. Built in 2009 by the architectural firm of Skidmore, Owings & Merrill. The principal architect, Adrian Smith. Now the building rises 1,389 feet, 92 floors with a decorative spire on top. That spire counts towards the feet in the building. There are 470 luxury condominiums, one just selling for $12 million, a 5-star hotel, and on the 16th floor a bar and restaurant. Now if you look up at the building, you'll notice 3 setbacks in the building. Those setbacks are important, they help prevent wind shearing. Now if you're familiar with the architect Adrian Smith, he is responsible for the tallest building in the world. Where will you find that? Dubai, the Burj Khalifa. Take this building, put it on top of itself. That's about how tall that building is. Now the next building I want to highlight is this black building coming up here on our right. It doesn't look like much, but it's a very important building here in the city. This is the American Medical Association, formerly the IBM headquarters. The first 10 floors of the building is the Langham Hotel. Then you have offices for the American Medical Association above it. Now the building was built in 1971 by the great German architect Mies van der Rohe. Now Mies van der Rohe's philosophy was less is more. He didn't believe in any fancy ornamentation on his buildings. The only ornamentation you see are those black vertical steel I-beams and glass. All about right angles, keeping it clean and simple. But, you know, he was from the Bauhaus School of Architecture in Germany. He came to Chicago during World War II and taught on the south side at the Armour Institute, his international style of architecture. Many of his students embraced his design. You'll see other buildings that look like that on the river. However, he had one student that didn't listen to a word he taught him. You know how I know that? Look at these 2 buildings here. This is Marina City, completed in 1967 by the architect Bertrand Goldberg. Now Goldberg was a student of Mies van der Rohe. His philosophy was there are no right angles in nature. Why should there be right angles in architecture? You have 2 60-story concrete cylindrical residential towers. Each floor of the building is like a giant pizza pie. Each apartment's like a slice of that pizza, so you enter narrowly and it widens out. Imagine trying to decorate something like that, it'd be a nightmare. Now Goldberg believed in the concept of a city within a city, so you never have to leave your building. A marina, a restaurant, a bowling alley, a dry cleaning services store, and a theater. If you look up behind us to the right, that theater today is our House of Blues here in Chicago. Now look back at those iconic buildings. Midwesterners refer to them as the Corn Cob Towers. Featured in many films, you might remember one, The Hunter with Steve McQueen, in which he drove his car off the 13th floor parking lot into the Chicago River. Quite a stunt at the time. If any of you are looking to grab lunch or dinner later on, you have two choices here if you want to sit along the river. Pizzeria Portofino, and then above it is RPM Seafood. Two highly recommended restaurants. Folks, if you were living here in the city in the early 1900s, about 100 years ago, the only types of buildings you'd see on either side of the river is this red brick warehouse building here on our right. This is the Reed Murdoch Center, built in 1914 by the architect George Nimmons as a grocery warehouse. It was also home to the Encyclopedia Britannica, and it is currently offices of Whirlpool here in Chicago. Do me a favor, look at the clock tower in the center. Count, there are 6 bays of windows to the right of the clock tower. However, you will find that there are only 5 bays of windows to the left. They actually had to cut the building here in 1939 when they widened out the LaSalle Street Bridge. So that building is not even. It might drive you crazy looking at it. Chicago is a very environmentally friendly city. We're really trying our best to keep the river and the lake clean. It's also reflected in the architecture. Take a look at this building on our right. This is 300 North LaSalle, built in 2009 by the architects Picard and Chilton. It received the highest award an energy efficient building can receive, LEED Certified Platinum. That means leadership in energy and environmental design. 80% of the building is made of recyclable material. It has a green roof, and it actually circulates river water into the building as a form of cooling. Many of you are looking to grab steak. That's one of the best steakhouses in the city, Chicago Cut. Now get your cameras ready. One of the most iconic buildings here in the city is the world famous Merchandise Mart up here on our right. The building was built in 1930 by Graham Anderson Probst and White. It's classic Art Deco design, limestone with vertical setbacks. Now the building was originally built to house the Marshall Field warehouse. It's 4.25 million square feet, takes up 5 acres of land, has 500 showrooms and 8 miles of corridors. Do you guys know that up until 1992, this building had its own zip code? Joseph P. Kennedy, the patriarch of the Kennedy family, bought the building during the Great Depression on back taxes for $13 million. Kennedy family turned around the late 1990s, sold the building for a whopping $500 million. I'd say they made a good investment. You'll notice there are 8 bronze statuettes facing the mart. Those are famous merchants from around the city. A few to name: Marshall Field, Montgomery Ward, Woolworth. Now this area of land on our right is a very historic piece of land here in Chicago. It's called Wolf Point. You have Wolf Point East, which is a 60-story rental residential building by the architects Pelly Clark Pelly. In the center, they're building a Salesforce office building, also by Pelly Clark Pelly. But what's historic about this area of land right here, folks, is this is where Chicago got its start. So when the city was incorporated in 1837, our earliest settlers settled on a very muddy plot of land here. You would have found taverns, cabins, and stores there, and they encountered the Native Americans who referred to the land around them as Chicagowa, which actually has 2 translations. The first translation, big and strong. The second translation, stinky onion. We prefer the first translation. Folks, we're at the junction of the river. This is where the 3 branches come together, the main branch, the north branch, and the south branch. But take a moment and get a picture of that iconic view looking east down the main branch. All right, folks, as we're heading on to the north branch of the Chicago River, I'd like to point off here on our left the circular vents with the fans inside them. Just west of these buildings are active railroad lines for